right. Welcome everyone. Hello everyone. Welcome to our first episode, Africa Agritech Founders Diary. Welcome to our first episode. We are so excited to have our speaker joining us this evening. But before we go into it, I would like to read at the profile of our speaker this evening. All right. Farmer Ogbole Samson is the team lead for Soilless Farm Lab, where he used technology as an enabler for agriculture. He grow plants without the use of soil, growing plants in the air, and AI-based irrigation system for proper plant monitoring, for optimal yield and predictability of food production. Agriculture for Farmer Samson is more than just food production. It is the foundation for sustainable development, job creation, health, healthy living, as well as national development. He believes agriculture must adapt the business mindset, technology,
Mm.
automation, perception, data, and be climate smart. To this end, Farmer Samson has developed his time and resources to build modern farms, exploring the latest technology for agriculture, sharing and training others to adapt the modern agriculture, to ensure together we can use agriculture as a tool to build the nation we so desire. He believes food production should not be seasonal because hunger is not seasonal. Farmer Samson has a BSc in biochemistry from the prestigious Ibadan University, Masters in biochemistry from University of Ibadan, biochemistry in PhD from Federal University of Agricultural Abeokuta. Of course, he have done some courses in Harvard Business School, Boston, US, biotechnology from Federal University of Agriculture Abeokuta, Introduction to Food and Nutrition, Stanford University, Introduction to Population Health from the University of Manchester. He has done a lot of programs with so many universities. Farmer Samson is a member of the Royal Court Oni of Ife Kingdom, an awardee of Royal Africa Awards, a recognition of top 100 young Nigeria doing great things 2021. He is a two-time TED speaker and a one-time TED speaker. He was recognized among the top 7 innovators in Africa in the year 2018 by the CNN Africa, recognized by EFCC as one of the young and legitimate innovators mind in the year 2018, recognized as one of the top 100 global leaders combining purpose to help achieve the UN SDGs in 2019 by meaningful businesses. Soilless Farming of the year 2019, the winner featured Agro Challenge 2020 and featured in the documentary Swallow, Food Security in Nigeria's Changing Climate. Farmer Samson has been featured on CNN Africa Voice, BBC Yoruba, and Channels TV. We are so excited to have him join us this evening.
Good
Thank
evening,
you very
sir.
much, sir.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you
So,
very much.
without
Thank you,
wasting
sir.
much time, we'll go straight to some of the questions we really want to ask, because some of the work you do inspire a lot of us with the youth. We look into to what they are doing, and we are really inspired. But first of all, tell us,
Thank you.
at what point did you know this was the path you are going to take?
So, at what point did I know? That's hard because I'm sure from my profile you noticed I didn't study Agric from scratch.
Yeah, yeah.
So, I think I would say it was during my NYSC period in IITA. I suddenly realized, okay, wait, agriculture is not just about the hoes and cutlasses, about the punishment that it has been used for in secondary school. It is something much more than that. And also, it is not what I have seen my grandparents do in the village whenever I go home for Christmas and we have to go to the farm. I mean, going to the farm with my grandparents, yes, it was a beautiful adventure with the whole hoes and cutlass, but it was not a career path that I saw. But in IITA, I suddenly got to see, oh, there is more to agric. And with my background in biochemistry, I just realized if I come into agric from the biochemistry perspective, I am able to set myself apart. So I cannot compete with agricultural graduates in agriculture because they have been doing this for like 4 years minimum in studying, understanding the rudiments and all. But what they lack is the biochemistry. And with biochemistry, I have an edge in how plants interact. I have an edge in how plants respond to chemicals. And I have an edge in how what you're doing on a farm can also play a role in whatever processes you want to use this plant for. So that was my angle. That was at that point during my NYC, I said, oh, this should be a place to be.
Awesome. Great. That's great. So 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 what that's awesome to hear. I wanted to also find out what has been some of your challenges so far since you embark on this journey of farming, especially soilless farming.
I
What
can't
have been
share.
the
I don't know if it's
challenges?
my network or it's yours.
I can hear you. Can you hear me now? Hello, can you hear me?
I can't hear you. Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, I'm asking what are some of the challenges you face over these past few years you've been involved in agriculture? What are some of the challenges you face, and how did you
All
overcome
right.
those
So
challenges?
it was because I am a biochemist coming into agric and coming in from the point of technology because, again, like I said, I knew from the get go I was not going to work with hoes and cutlass. I was not cut out for that. I didn't want the whole drudgery associated with agric. I was going to use technology. And coming in with technology, the first thing I had to face was what we call the cultural shock. People were not used to soilless farming. I mean, as a matter of fact, I had stories like, is this not demonic? Is this not anti culture? Is this not satanic? So I knew that there was a need to actually take time to educate people because it was not like, I mean, they were not wrong in their thoughts. Let me say that because this was not something that was a norm. This was not something that was a norm. I'll give an example from my own past. I remember the first time I heard come and take a kokore and I asked what is a kokore and they're like, oh, this is a Yoruba food made from water yam and you blend it. I'm like, no, you don't blend yam, you pound yam or you cut yam. So because of that experience I had, when I had started telling people about the whole soilless farming and all of that, and they're like, no, this is demonic, this is satanic, I understood that they are where I used to be. So there is nothing wrong with them, they just needed to be educated. So the first thing I had to do was to take time to start educating people. And there is the educating people that makes people feel like, you know what you are saying, we've understood by. And there is educating people that makes them feel, oh, this is simple, this is normal, this is natural. So I had to intentionally go the other route to ensure that I could use languages that people could understand in their own context, in their own reality, so that I am not talking about white as snow instead of saying white as salt, because white as snow brings out imagination, white as salt that they can relate with. So that was the first part. The second major part was now that they started accepting that this was not satanic, the next thing was if there is no soil, it has to be unhealthy. Again, they were not wrong in their thought pattern because it always seems like if this does not look natural, then the product cannot be healthy. So it took again another rounds of education. And again, thank God for my background in biochemistry. So trying to explain this thing to people was not hard. All I had to do was go back to my biochemistry roots, forget about the whole agriculture and say, let us talk health. What is healthy? What does it mean to say something is healthy? And of course, over time, we had different tests, different, what's it called, results to show that this was healthy. That was the major second obstacle. So essentially, obstacle one, obstacle two was about educating, which was not costing money. It just meant spending time to explain to people because it was not the norm for them. Then Obstacle three was now that people accepted that it was natural, it was not unhealthy. The third thing for them was, is this profitable? Or is this something we just do as show off for the aesthetics? But we have our farm somewhere else where we're able to show, where we're able to make money, but we just use this for show off. And in that conversation, it took a while. That took the longest because there was a need for me to start thinking it is not enough for this thing to be healthy. It is not enough for this thing to be beautiful. Can we domesticate it? Can we make it affordable? Because if it is not affordable, adoption will be low. I mean, I give an example. I remember when telecoms came into the country over a decade ago, phones used to be super expensive. At that point, it was, what's the word now? It was insane to think that a mechanic, that the local artisans in our environment will be able to afford a phone. Why? It was expensive. But as the telecom companies came together and they ensured that they continually reduce the price of these accessories, the phones, and all of that, everybody came on board. So I understood I had to follow same methodology that has worked. If it is cheap, more people can latch on. If it is expensive, only few people can come on board. And with that, because it has become now, making it affordable is where people would have the chance to test, is it profitable? But when it is not affordable and majority are growing in soil, it simply means that the majority growing in soil will dictate the price for those growing without soil, which makes it very hard for you to break even. So right now we've passed the conversation to a large extent of, is it profitable? Now where we are is, what more can we do with this? What more can we do with this? And again, because it's a technology, and once people start understanding the technology, there is this avenue for abuse of the technology where it starts coming across as though the technology is failing because everybody wants to latch onto it. So we are at that point where we now know that there is a need to have protocols, principles available that anybody can pick it up and understand what it is, what it isn't, how to use it, and how not to use it. So yeah.
All right, awesome. But I like to speak around funding. How are you able to raise funding? You know, a lot of us have architect ideas, crazy architect ideas, but challenges is always around funding. We can raise funding. How do we raise funding, or how are you able to raise funding for this massive project you are doing right now? I think you are one of the lead people, or one of the biggest vertical farm, if I must say, in Benin, in Nigeria right now, that is really inspiring young people over there. Now the question is, how are you able to raise funds for this massive project?
All right, thank you very much. So raising funds, it starts at four levels. There are four levels to fundraising that I personally believe exist. And the first level usually is your personal funds. And in using your personal funds, that is tricky because the issue usually is your ideas are large, the vision is large, but what you have is little. And like I always tell some of my guys, I say, the advantage of using your personal fund is not about pursuing your vision. Instead, it's about understanding your process. The first farm I ever built was a simple bucket. A
Mm,
simple paint bucket was where my first hydroponics farm was. As simple as it was, it is the same principle whether it is a bucket or something gigantic. But I could afford the bucket. And with that bucket, I could show people this works. Now, the advantage of having a process that has failed, then you try it again and it starts to work is when you start talking to people, people are able to see that you are talking from a place of results, not from a place of hope. And many a time you realize that when we have young people who have great ideas, their ideas, when they discuss their ideas, they are speaking from a place of hope, from a place of we think this would work. And the issue with that is investors are not willing to gamble with their funds. They want
true.
to put their money in a system that works because it is not a philanthropic process for them, it's an investment. They are putting money not out of love, but out of the fact that they want to make more money. So the first thing is I started from putting my own funds. I mean, how much was it to set up that small hydroponic system then? I don't think it was up to 5,000 naira. But I kept doing it. I kept picking data, kept writing. Okay, this did not work. Oh, this plant died after 3 days. Can I restart? So there is a place for patience. Now, it's important that whomever is listening that is a young entrepreneur knows that when you are running with your funds, the goal of running with your funds is not making money. As a matter of fact, when you are running with your funds, your expectation is that you are going to be suffering as a person because you can't make money with your funds. Your funds are limited. What you can do is limited. But the goal of running with your funds is understanding your process, understanding what works and what does not work. Much more than that, you are able to show a result. You are able to show a result. Now, when I say understanding your process, it is knowing what do I put as number one, number two, number three, number four. Because when you get funds, your funds should amplify those process. If you don't have your process understood, your funds would amplify your mistake, or the funds you get would amplify your mistake. So that was where I started. After that, I moved on to the next level, which is getting other people's money, OPM. And the easiest way we used to do OPM those days was to do crowdfunding. And the first crowdfunding I did with the first organization I was with, it failed woefully. Why did it fail? Because we understood the process in a controlled environment, not in a business environment. How do I mean? When I first started, I was fortunate to be with IITA. So when I did the process, that was a controlled environment where there is electricity when you need electricity. There are nutrients when you need nutrients. Everything you need is just a letter away. I just need to say, I need this, it shows up. I need this, it shows up. But coming into the business world, I have to say I need this and I may not get it. And because I have understood the process in a perfect environment, when that process entered an imperfect environment, there were a lot of loopholes. So it's important that when you want to go looking for funds, fund based on the process that you have understood. So if probably when you were doing it in your house, you had mommy that was always helping you watch your plants. Then when you take it out to the real world, you don't have mommy to always help you watch. That is already a loophole. If when you were doing it, you were doing it in a secured environment where you have a gate man that helps you ensure that everything is done. There is proper security, the dog or whatever does not affect your crop. Now you now took money, you want to go and put your farm in casual or in one environment called Parapuru, where there are herdsmen, there are this, you see. That perfect environment where you tested your process is not what you are replicating. And that is going to be the issues you are going to have, which will lead to failure. So after we finished our first round, I realized this was not working. I went out of the company, restarted from scratch. Now I understood where the issue was. Again, I started from scratch, retested the process with my money. This time around, simulating the real environment. Luckily, then I had moved to a village where it was cheap to have a small compound. In the small compound, I used my wall where birds will come in, goats will come in. People, in short, I remember there was a time I planted ugu with hydroponics. I knew when it was ready for, it was about time for harvest, ugu and yam. When it was time for harvest, I went out that day. By the time I came back, somebody who needed the ugu and yam more than me had harvested everything. But that was me testing it in the real environment. Now I knew that people can say, oh, we don't know what this is. We don't understand how you are growing this thing without soil, but it does not stop them from stealing it when it is ready. So they don't need to understand the process to steal the products. That I got out of the whole system that, oh, so in trying to expand, when I started, of course, while I was doing that, I remember when they stole the yams and the ugu, I asked myself, I said, okay, this cost me this much to do. Yet the person that stole this thing is going to probably sell. The person probably spent less than 30 minutes or at most maybe 2 hours out of their day to steal all of these things and they make all of this money. So where is the actual quick money in my agri process? Is it in my planting or in my selling? And I said, okay, it's in my selling. So when I was to raise funds, I did not raise money to plant. I raised money to buy from people whose farms I have set up for, to buy and start selling, such that it was my profit I was now using to set up my farm. So I was able to decipher early where is the high risk, where is the low risk. So the low risk was look for people you have set up for. Thank God for the fact that I already had a record of people I've set up farms for. So I just need to start calling them up. Hey, do you have products to sell? Do you have products to sell? Let me buy your products, I will sell. Let me buy your products, I will sell. So it was more around negotiation. Okay, don't worry. I know you have been asking me to come and give you consultancy. I will consult for free if you sell for me at this price, so that I am able to get products to start selling quick. So with that, I remember far back as 2020, I was able to raise about 15 million to start again through crowdfunding. But why did that crowdfunding not fail? Because now I understood where the risk was in planting. So I knew that I needed their funds to trade as opposed to farm, such that the profit I was making was what I was now putting on my farm. That way, even if I still remember sometimes 2021 or so, people still came to the farm to rob. But when they robbed the farm, it was not so devastating as it would have been if it was investors' money on the farm. I mean, the guys that came to rob took their time to take the CCTV and break it. So
Wow.
that they are telling me that we see your CCTV, but we are here to rob. Now, the point being, moving on from there, it was easier now to say, okay, now it's also very important that as I was able to raise funds, for every round I went back to raise, I reduced the profit. Because whomever gave me funds for the first time realized I paid back as at when due. So every time I paid back and you needed to reinvest, I reduce your profit. And remember, I started back then with 40% ROI. At the time I stopped raising funds, I had reduced it to as low as 15%. When I started raising funds at 40% ROI, I was paying back at 6 months. When it was getting to at 15% ROI, the minimum you can get was 12 months. So at this point, people already trusted the brand. So I could say, no, I'm not giving you for 6 months. I'm giving you for 12 months. I'm giving you for maybe 15 months. And they were okay with it because now they were sure that their money was secured. So
Yeah.
that is the second level. The third level is, why doing all of this, there is a need for you to have proper documentation, because many a time people say, oh, banks do not give out loan. These do not give out loan. And I'm like, no, they give out loan. But the issue is you don't have enough track record, you don't have documentation, and you don't have proper inflow, outflow for them to say you can pay back this funds. So I left the what's the word now, the crowdfunding people, and went to the banks next to say, okay, see guys, I need funds. Because now I have track record, they have seen it, you are making good money. And then I started realizing that with banks, when they say our what's it called, lending rate is 24%, 30%, whatever percentage they're saying, that is for people who don't understand that you can negotiate with banks what you want. And for
Mm.
banks, they are in a business of making money. They would rather make a 10%, 12% interest than make 0%. It's a question
Yeah.
of what bargaining chip do you have to negotiate with them. So at this point now, I could meet bigger financial parastatals to say, this is what I am trying to do. This is what you stand to gain. This is what I can get for you beyond money. I can ensure that everybody I am buying from comes to you to open an account. So what that means is, if, for example, I am taking a 50 million naira loan, the person I am paying the 50 million naira to, I tell them to come open an account with you, which means as a bank, I took 50 million naira from you, but it never left your bank. It is still within your banking system. And I am telling you, you say you wanted to do 20%. I'm not doing 20% with you because this money remains in your system. I want to do 15%. I want to do 12%. There is a lot of back and forth, but they understand that now you are providing more value than money. You are giving them new customers. So you are not just a customer to them, you are now a marketer for them who brings them people that stays within their ecosystem. So yes, it's going to be a long process. It's going to be a lot of documentation, a lot of planning, and a lot of self-restraint, meaning it's not about fulfilling your every appetite first. It's about understanding that you will have to accept some shame, you will have to accept some, not some, you have to accept a lot of discomfort for the purpose of your vision.
Awesome. I
So
think
yeah.
I think for me, one of the some of the takeaway from this question, I really learned a lot from this one. First, master the process.
Thank
You
you.
were able to master the process with your own money before you started accepting crowdfunding. So I think I learned that
Yes,
master your process. Um, Master your process is very key. Also, documentation is very key too. Documentation, you're able to raise funds from the bank because you had proper documentations in your farm process, which I think
exactly.
is also very key for agri-tech startups listening to this program to also learn. Documentation is very important. Then I like the part of negotiation, how you're able to negotiate with the bank. I think every agri-tech startup should start learning how to negotiate. Are you able to negotiate with them that, see,
Exactly.
I'm even bringing people to you, the money is going to stay here with you. Ability to negotiate is very critical. That's an awesome one. Thank you very much, sir. But I want to quickly
Thank
also
you.
touch touch the fact that what are some of the opportunities in hydroponics, in aeroponics that young people should look forward to tap into? What are some of the opportunities young people should be looking
All
forward to tap
right.
into?
So there are a lot when it comes to hydroponics and all. And again, let me just say this as an addendum that people should not get too focused on the general technology as much as understanding. So let me look for a way to put that. First, understand that this is farming, this is agriculture. So what are the issues that farmers have generally? Same issues exist whether it is hydroponics or not hydroponics. It is just a technology for farming, which means if I do not understand the system well, the system would amplify my errors or my lack of understanding of itself. So, what am I saying in essence? One of the first things that still remains a huge opportunity is people who would understand and teach it. That is still a huge gap. Who would take time to understand and teach it? Number two, who would take time to understand and even document it? Take for instance, I know if you look at the big hydroponics farmers in Nigeria, myself, Pastor Debo Nofowora, Yomi Williams of
Yeah,
Gatna Colorway, Clement, Maurice of Seedfort, um, Captain Sam of Sam Agro, a lot of guys in hydroponics. I can tell you for free that none of us have had the time to sit down to write a book on hydroponics. So a youth can decide to say, I want to understand this thing to the extent that I can document it for a layman to pick it up and use it. That is a
mm,
big area in hydroponics. Somebody else can say, no, I don't want to focus on all of that. I just want to write a small manual that will help people detect diseases easily. I mean, imagine what would happen if Nigerians have access to a book that showcases the different disease pattern on the leaves of a plant for tomatoes. So that you just take the book, check the picture of your leaf, compare it to what is in the book, you know the disease that your plant has, and know what to use to treat it because the book says that. Not
mm,
only would hydroponics farmer, what's it called, buy that book, even the normal open field farmers will buy that book and you will be in good money. What if a youth decides to say, oh, I want to take vegetables generally and do a proper profiling of these vegetables based on color to show what is healthy, what is unhealthy, how many days shelf life. So you take the tomatoes, okay, if you see this color, it can still last 6 days, it can last 3 days, it can last one day. Homes will buy the book. So
mm. I think that could be
documentation,
some network issues.
sorry, so there is a lot you can do around documentation and sell, and as an author, as a student, as a young person, make money out of it. That is on one aspect. On the second aspect, you can pick just an aspect of hydroponics all around and he's doing an awesome job. That could be an area you want to specialize in. You can say, no, I want to specialize in as an agronomist or as a pathogen specialist where I'm able to help people detect diseases. Just call me, I can tell you what is wrong. Or as a fertigator expert, you know how to mix the nutrients based on what the plant needs. That can be your specialty. You can say, no, I don't want to do all of that. All of these things you are mentioning is about book, book, book. I am not interested in reading. You can be a farm designer because you see, a lot of people have farms, but the farms do not have a proper special design. It just looks like what one person just said, put this here, put this here, put this here. You can be the person that gives a proper design that people come into the farm and they're like, whoa, this is awesome. I mean, if you go to hotels, you go to bars, the difference between hotels and bars that makes you be like, whoa, this is awesome is about the design, the architectural design that somebody took time to conceptualize and say, what if we put the door here? What if we put this chair here? What if we use this kind of colors? You can have the same thing on the farm. So that also is an area. Another part that is also easy. I mean, I know a lot of youth love to do the whole browsing and all of that. You can decide to be the communication expert. You can be the one who communicates where to get product or where to get input or which farm to buy things from. You can just be a communication expert. You can be the guy who is a communication expert for the farmers or for the consumers or for the market or for the logistics or for even the banks, for the financial institutes where you are telling them, if you start a podcast, this is what this is today. If you invest in this, this is what you can get. And the bank guys start listening to your program because they understand that by listening to you, they are able to get expert advice and you become a consultant to these financial institutions. Or you can be the guy that is the voice for the insurance companies, or you can be the guy that is the consultant for the farms to know how to negotiate with insurance companies that know if an insurance company says this, this is what you should not accept. You then start profiling different insurance companies in the country to say this is what is good from this is what is bad from this. And before you know what is happening, the insurance companies will start lobbying you to speak on their behalf because they want to ensure that they get the most clients. So there is a lot around hydroponics. It can be that you are the one that connects people. So you don't even have to have money to buy the things to import. You can do drop shipping, but you are the one that decides to communicate with different guys abroad. You can decide to say, okay, today what I want to do is for the next 3 months, I want to go and learn German, or I want to go and learn Dutch, or I want to go and learn Chinese. Why am I calling these languages? Because you realize that most of the importations that Nigerians do come from this country. Unfortunately, most Nigerians do not speak this language. So there is always that communication barrier, a lot of back and forth before you are able to reach a deal. But what if you become that expert that says, I speak Chinese, I speak Dutch, I speak Israeli, and I speak German fluently? So if you need to buy things from these people, so you start making contacts now, you start reaching out to these people. How much is this? How much is that? Then you create a whole marketplace around you where if I need to buy a pump from China, rather than me going to the Chinese company myself, I come to you because I know you speak their language, you can negotiate well for me in their language. So you become the middleman that makes money without having to travel. So there is a lot. Then, of course, there are the automations. You can do automations of the system. There is a whole lot of IoT that youth can come into, play in that arena, and it is golden. So the point I'm simply trying to make is there is a lot you can do within the hydroponics value chain and also the farming value chain that youth can take advantage of essentially. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, as we begin to round up this program this evening, I would like to ask you, what is your advice for agri-tech founders who are struggling or who is just entering the agri-tech industry? What's going to be your advice for them?
So as an agri-tech founder, the first thing I would ask you is, do you have a technology that people want, or you just have a technology that you like? Because there are two big things, two big different things. Because there is this passion as a founder of, I love this thing, it has to work. Question, is that really what people want? You need to be sure of where people are in their reality, so that you are not bringing a technology that people, sorry, where I am is getting dark and by the sea. Yes. So that you are not bringing in a technology that people are not ready for yet. So are you bringing what people want, or you are bringing what you like? That is number one. Number two, are you working alone, or are you building a team that understands what you're trying to do? Because you see, as a founder, the frustration becomes high when you are building alone. But if you can take time to actually get a team, the team is able to amplify and simplify what you are trying to say. So there is a need to be intentional about getting a team around what you are trying to build. It's very, very important. Then find a way to distill your agri-tech. Yes, I know the vision is glorious, the vision is beautiful, but the reality is we cannot all start from the top. Let's see if I can get a place with better light. We cannot all start from the top with you. So there is a need to start thinking, how can I do this thing cheaper first? How can I do this thing such that it is cheaper to start with? How can I make it easier? How can I make it simpler? Because many a time as an agri-tech founder, there is that temptation of trying to start from where you are already. That is the temptation. How simple can I start? Can I make this easier to start with? How simple can I start? Then, finally, which I think for me is probably the most important, don't stay glued to your don't stay glued to your dream. Stay, or how do I put that now? Don't stay glued to the dream of what you are trying to build. Instead, you are meant to stay glued to the vision. Hydroponics and all my plants must fly in the air. Now that is the passion. But the reality on ground is this thing is refusing to fly. So what am I really passionate about? Is it growing plants or am I passionate about putting the plants in the air? Because if my passion and if I am, what's the word now? If I am stubborn to stay glued to the air, I may never get to grow the plant I want to grow. But if my actual passion is about the result of I want to grow plants, then just maybe, just maybe, I would be able to understand that I am not supposed to be dogmatic to my process. I can be flexible, but the end result of feeding people is where I want to get to. So my technology is about the result. What is the result? My way to the result may not be the right way. It may be where I started from, but I should be flexible enough to know that there are other ways to the result. So that if the way I am trying to follow as an agri-tech founder is not working, I should be flexible to find other ways. What is not negotiable is the end result of what the solution I'm trying to provide is. So maybe my solution is irrigation, but I am trying to see how to use my phone to do irrigation. If the phone is not working, is there another way to get irrigation to come? So we as agri-tech founders must not be what's the word now? We must not be convenated to the process, but we should stay stubborn about the end result, not the process. The process may change. The process should be flexible. It is the end result that matters. So if the process is not working, be flexible. Try something else. Listen to other people. See what is working. Understand why it's not working. What is really important is the end result, not the process.
Wow, thank you very much for your time this evening. We are grateful, sir.
You're
Thank you
welcome,
for
sir.
joining us this evening. This is how much we can take this
Thank you,
evening.
sir.
Thank you very much. We are honored. Thank you for
Thank you, sir.
joining us this evening. We are grateful. Thank you, sir. Have a
Thank you
beautiful
for inviting
good
me.
night.
Yes.
Thank you,
You
sir.
too, sir.